In the year 1221, the entire city surrendered to Genghis Khan without a single Mongol soldier entering its gates because they believed the Mongols could hear their thoughts. Genghis Khan, born as Temujin in 1162, a man from high steppes of Mongolia, who united warring tribes and built the largest contiguous land empire in human history. But his success wasn't luck. It wasn't just brutality, it was strategy, cold, calculated, and decades ahead of its time. In this documentary, we reveal the real, historically verified military tactics that made Genghis Khan unstoppable and terrified the civilization from China to the Middle East. Long before Europe developed formal intelligence agencies, Genghis Khan ran a continent-wide spy network. He used the YAM system, a relay of stations every 20 to 40 miles across the empire. Established around 1206, it carried intelligence, reconnaissance reports, and diplomatic messages with incredible speed. According to the secret history of Mongols, riders could cover up to 200 miles per day, allowing Genghis to learn which cities had weak defenses, which rulers were fighting each other, where food and water were available, even weather conditions weeks ahead. This allowed him to attack cities before they were ready, often appearing where they were least expected. Civilizations were terrified because the Mongols often knew more about their enemies than the enemies knew about themselves. One tactic terrified generals from China to Hungary: the feint retreat. Mongol troops would attack, pretending to lose the battle, then flee in panic. Enemies would chase them, believing they had won, but this was a trap. The Mongols used it at the Battle of Kalka River 1223 against the Rus princes, the Battle of Indus 1221 against the Jalal al-Din, countless battles in northern China. The enemies, stretched, exhausted, and suddenly found themselves surrounded, encircled, cut off from water supplies, shot by arrows from all sides. This tactic was so successful that entire armies collapsed within hours. Mongol warriors each carried 3 to 5 horses, rotating them to prevent exhaustion. This gave them unmatched speed. Unlike European knights who fought in heavy armor, Mongols wore light lamellar armor and traveled with dried meat, fermented mare's milk, a leather water bag. This meant they could ride for days with almost no supply lines. During the Khwarezmian campaign 1219 to 1221, Genghis Khan's army crossed the Kizilkum desert, a maneuver considered impossible. Cities like Bukhara and Samarkand fell because no one expected an army to arrive from such inhospitable terrain. Genghis Khan never hid the brutality of his conquest. He weaponized fear itself. Historians like Juvaini and Rashid al-Din record that the Mongols intentionally released survivors to spread stories of destruction. This was not random violence. It was carefully designed strategy. Cities that resisted, like Nishapur in 1221, were destroyed. Cities that surrendered, like Herat, after negotiation, often spared. The message was clear: resist and be erased, surrender and live. The psychological pressure caused entire kingdoms to collapse without battle. One of Genghis Khan's greatest innovations was using multiple simultaneous attacks designed to confuse defenders. While one Mongol army besieged a city, another army hundreds of kilometers away would create diversions. During the Khwarezmian invasion, he split his forces into several independent columns. Jabe and Sabutai chased Shah Muhammad II across Persia and the Caspian. Toloi attacked Mau and Nishapur. Chagatai and Ogidai besieged Otrar. Genghis himself marched on Bukhara. This made defenders believe the Mongols were far fewer than they actually were. The result? The Khwarezmian Empire collapsed in less than 2 years. The steppe nomads were not traditional siege warriors, but Genghis Khan learned fast. After conquering northern China from the Jin dynasty, he absorbed catapult engineers, crossbow specialists, gunpowder experts, wall-scaling troops. He used these specialists in later campaigns, most prominently in Central Asia. At the siege of Zhongdu, modern Beijing in 1215, the Mongols used traction trebuchets, siege towers, fire weapons. Once again, fear did the rest. Many cities surrendered at the mere sight of Mongol siege engines. Before Genghis Khan, Mongol tribes promoted leaders by birth. He ended this. He promoted warriors based on skill, loyalty, performance in battle, not bloodline. His top general Subutai, one of history's greatest commanders, was the son of a blacksmith, unheard of in medieval armies. This system created fierce loyalty. Everyone had a chance to rise. No one had the luxury to disobey. Despite being seen as destroyers, the Mongols practiced broad religious tolerance. Genghis Khan granted exemptions to Muslim scholars, Buddhist monks, Christian clergy, Taoist priests. He allowed conquered people to maintain their faith, which helped stabilize his rule. This policy made trade flourish along the Silk Road, giving the Mongol Empire unmatched resources for future campaigns. Genghis Khan issued the Yesa, a code of law emphasizing discipline. Looting before victory was forbidden. Killing a fellow soldier was punishable by death. Desertion was unforgivable. This strict control made Mongol armies far more organized than many larger medieval military forces. When Genghis Khan died in 1227, his empire stretched from the Pacific to Caspian Sea, but his legacy wasn't just destruction. It was the brilliance of a man who understood intelligence over guesswork, mobility over size, fear over force, merit over birth. Civilizations feared him because he changed the rules of warfare. And perhaps the greatest irony is this: Genghis Khan, often portrayed only as a conqueror, was in strategy, organization, and leadership one of the most innovative military minds the world has ever seen. A man from the windswept steppes who mastered the art of war so completely that even centuries later, modern armies still study his strategies.